There is a very specific kind of cold sweat panic that sets in at a company when the audit window opens.
Oh, yeah, the dread.
Right. I mean, you see it every single quarter. Suddenly, you have these highly paid GRC professionals and, stressed out control owners across engineering and HR, and they are completely dropping their day jobs.
Yeah, just everything grinds to a halt.
Exactly. They are frantically hunting through AWS or Jira, Slack, looking for screenshots, data exports, random meeting notes, policy acknowledgments from, like, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It is just a mad, soul-crushing scramble.
It really is. I mean, it's the ultimate stress test of an organization's operational discipline. And usually companies just completely fail the elegance test because you can't just claim you operate securely, right? You have to prove it definitively to an external party. But historically, gathering that proof requires stringing together the most painful manual and administrative processes imaginable. You're basically asking your engineers to stop building and start doing, data entry.
Right, which they obviously hate. And that mad scramble is exactly what we're carrying into today in this deep dive. We're unpacking a fascinating source document called Modern GRC, AI-Assisted Security Control Testing and Continuous Assurance.
It's a great read. Really changes the perspective on all this.
It does. And the mission here is to figure out how we get out of this point-in-time panic. How do we actually shift to continuous assurance, proving we're secure 365 days a year, without completely burning out the compliance team?
Because, spoiler alert, if you just throw traditional automation at modern infrastructure, it breaks.
Yeah. And whether you're a compliance professional prepping for your next audit right now, or you're just someone curious about how AI is reshaping corporate accountability, you're going to learn why the future isn't about letting AI do all the work. It's actually about using AI to assist human judgment.
Which is a crucial distinction.
Totally. I love this topic because it takes something historically dry, like compliance audits, and injects cutting-edge tech into it. It just completely changes the game. But before we even talk about the AI solutions, we need to look at why that old system is collapsing under its own weight today.
Right, because the old way of doing things is fundamentally broken. And that's mostly because it was built for an IT landscape that, well, it simply doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, the world moved on.
Exactly. Traditional control testing assumes a stable, predictable environment. We're talking about monolithic infrastructure, applications that maybe see a new release cycle once a quarter.
If that.
Right, and vendors you only review annually. In that slow-moving world, gathering evidence around fixed audit periods and doing periodic sample-based testing, that was perfectly adequate. The environment stayed still long enough to actually measure it.
It's kind of like, think of a health inspector visiting a restaurant once a year.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. Getting an A grade on a Tuesday tells you absolutely nothing about the raw chicken sitting on the prep counter on a Wednesday. The inspector just proved the kitchen was clean on that one specific day.
Yeah, and modern risk just moves way too fast for that kind of snapshot testing.
It really does.
Just think about the velocity of a modern CI/CD pipeline. Risk moves continuously across cloud platforms, SaaS tools, API meshes, identity providers. I mean, the infrastructure is completely fluid now.
It's constantly changing.
Exactly. So a control that was functioning flawlessly last quarter or, even yesterday might be broken right now.
Yeah.
An engineer might push a quick hotfix that accidentally alters a cloud logging setting.
Or someone changes a permission by mistake.
Right. A backup job silently fails because of a credential rotation. Or maybe a vendor you use just flips a switch on a new feature on their end and suddenly that changes how your data is processed.
And you can't capture that with an annual sample. If you rely on a snapshot, you're operating completely blind to the reality of your risk landscape.
Absolutely blind.
And the whole purpose of control testing isn't to create pristine audit artifacts to just shove in a binder to make the auditors go away, right? It's to prove those controls are actually mitigating risk in real time.
Which means we desperately need tools that can process massive amounts of telemetry constantly. We have to move to continuous monitoring.
Right.
And this is the threshold where traditional automation hits a wall, and it's where AI actually has to step in.
Let's break down that threshold because people throw the words automation and AI around interchangeably all the time. And in GRC, conflating the two is just a recipe for disaster.
It really is. They are not the same thing.
Not at all. Let's look at it like this. Automation is it's your alarm clock automatically going off at 7 a.m. It executes a clear rule flawlessly.
Right. It does exactly what you tell it to do.
Exactly.
Right.
But AI is like a smart assistant that realizes you have a 6 a.m. flight, checks the live traffic data, notices a massive pileup on the highway, and decides to wake you up at 4 a.m. based on the context of the situation.
I love that analogy. And that distinction dictates how you build an assurance program. Because automation thrives on structured data and rigid rules. Like, pinging an API to ask, is the password policy set to 14 characters, true or false?
Very black and white.
Exactly. But AI, specifically large language models, it interprets, classifies, and summarizes unstructured data. It handles the messy reality of enterprise evidence.
Which brings us to how AI actually solves this workflow, according to the source. The first bottleneck it shatters is evidence collection.
Oh, this is a huge one.
Right. Instead of an analyst sending out 50 passive-aggressive emails, begging control owners to manually gather artifacts, an AI-assisted workflow can ingest telemetry directly from identity platforms, ticketing systems, cloud logs. And it contextualizes and pre-populates the evidence packages before a human ever even logs in.
It's incredible. But, collecting the evidence is only half the battle.
Sure.
The real friction is reading it. Consider the review of a vendor SOC2 report. I mean, these are often 200-page, unstructured PDFs.
Nobody wants to read that.
Nobody. An analyst certainly doesn't have time to read every line, so they just skim it. But an AI model can ingest that massive document and semantically parse it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not just doing a CTRLF keyword search. It actually understands the context. It can extract whether specific vulnerability remediation SLAs were met, or if there are user entity control carve-outs that your organization needs to worry about.
And that semantic understanding leads to what I think is the most powerful application here, which is control to evidence matching.
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting.
Because AI can read the stated intent of your control, say, privileged access is reviewed quarterly and inappropriate access is removed, and then map it against the messy artifact the control owner actually uploaded.
And this is where most audit failures actually happen.
Wait, really? It's the matching?
Yeah, it's rarely that the evidence is totally missing. It's that the evidence is mismatched. A control owner uploads a raw user export to a compliance portal, and the box is technically checked.
Right, because there's a file there.
Exactly. A traditional automation tool sees a file as present and just marks the control as passing. But the AI reads the spreadsheet and flags, hey, this export just lists users. It lacks a sign-off signature, a completion date, and any proof that access was actually evaluated.
Oh, wow. So it's spotting the gaps that a fatigued human auditor doing a random spot check would probably just easily miss.
Totally. And because it can process data at that scale, it excels at exception detection across huge volumes of evidence.
Give me an example of that.
So it could cross-reference the HR termination list against active session tokens in the AWS environment, and it semantically flags the discrepancies rather than relying on brittle Boolean logic.
That is massive. And when you string those capabilities together, collection, summarization, evidence matching, and exception detection, you finally achieve actual continuous control monitoring.
Exactly. You shift away from that point-in-time panic. You have constant visibility into configuration drift or daily backup completions.
Okay, but let's pump the brakes for a second. Because deploying an LLM blindly into a compliance environment sounds like a fantastic way to introduce massive hidden risks that could completely compromise the organization. AI isn't a silver bullet.
Yeah.
And treating it like one pushes you right into the danger zone.
It absolutely does. The fastest way to ruin your assurance program is to assume the AI understands nuance the exact same way a seasoned auditor does.
Right. What's the biggest pitfall there?
Well, the first major one is misinterpreting the quality of evidence. Take an access review. The document might be fully populated, signed, and dated. The AI looks at it, matches the criteria, and passes the control.
Seems fine so far.
Right. But what the AI missed is that the manager who performed the review just bulk approved 500 entitlements in 2 seconds without evaluating a single one.
Oh, man. So the AI sees compliance, but a human sees rubber stamping.
Exactly. Which feeds directly into the absolute biggest danger here, which is false assurance.
False assurance. Explain why that's so dangerous.
Because false assurance is significantly worse than no assurance.
Really? Worse.
Yes, because if you have no assurance, at least you know you have a blind spot. You know you need to look there. But AI can generate these highly polished executive dashboards showing all your controls glowing green simply because evidence files exist and the LLM confidently hallucinated a passing grade.
Oh, that is terrifying.
Tricks the board and the C-suite into a false sense of security. You think your risk is mitigated right up until the breach actually happens.
And part of that stems from inheriting bad control design in the first place, right? AI cannot fix a vaguely written control.
Not at all.
If your policy says system access is reviewed periodically, the AI doesn't know what periodically means. Is that weekly? Is it annually? It will just cheerfully automate the bad testing of a terribly designed control.
It will. And it also lacks inherent business context. An AI might detect a failing configuration, maybe a missing encryption flag. To the AI, a failure is a failure.
Right, this is a binary thing.
Exactly. It doesn't inherently understand that a failed control on an isolated internal test server spinning up synthetic data is a negligible issue, whereas that exact same failure on your primary customer database processing live transactions is a catastrophic drop-everything emergency.
Yeah, the stakes are completely different. And then you run into the ultimate roadblock, the external auditors.
Oh, yeah, the auditors.
Right. Let's say the AI passes all these controls and the external audit firm comes in, they ask for the proof. If you hand them a clean dashboard and say, well, the computer said everything looks good, they are going to laugh you out of the room.
They absolutely will. If you cannot explain the mechanics, what prompt was used, what training data was fed in, the confidence score of the model, and who reviewed it, that evidence is completely indefensible.
Because you're violating the core principle of auditability.
Exactly. The black box nature of some AI tools means you can't reperform the test and guarantee the same result. And if an auditor can't reperform the test, you fail the audit.
Okay, hold on. Stop. I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening right now.
Go for it.
If I'm a GRC professional and I have to constantly double check everything the AI does to ensure it isn't rubber stamping bad reviews, and I have to manually inject the business context and I have to document the exact prompts and model versions to keep the external auditors happy, aren't I just doing the exact same amount of manual work?
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've just traded hunting for screenshots for managing a temperamental hallucinating robot.
Yeah.
Where is the actual return on investment? Where are the time savings?
It's a completely fair challenge, and it's where most organizations fail when they try to implement this. The time savings absolutely do not materialize if you approach AI as an outsourced auditor making the final judgment. You will spend more time fixing its mistakes than it actually saves you.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
The ROI only happens when you implement a strict operating model where AI acts exclusively as a pre-tester.
A pretester. Okay, walk me through how that actually works in practice without just creating more overhead.
Sure, so it requires a highly disciplined playbook, a 7-step playbook from the source material. First, you have to clean your own house. You rewrite those vaguely designed controls into testable binary states. You eliminate words like periodically or appropriately.
You get rid of all the ambiguity.
Right. Once the design is solid, you run a triage process, classifying every control by its testing suitability.
Meaning, you separate what can be handled by a dumb API check,
Yeah.
what needs AI semantic analysis, and what is too high risk and must remain purely human-led.
Yes. You don't waste AI tokens on something a simple Python script can verify.
Makes sense.
For the controls assigned to AI, you then have to define incredibly strict evidence standards. You are essentially teaching the AI what good looks like by providing engineered prompts that act as a grading rubric.
And that leads to the crucial part, the pre-testing. You're using the AI for the first pass review.
This is where your time is saved. You let the AI do the grueling, high-volume grunt work. Let's take user access reviews again. Instead of a junior analyst spending 3 days scrolling through a 10,000-row spreadsheet looking for a single missing approval date, the AI processes that in seconds. It highlights the 5 rows out of 10,000 that have missing dates or active tokens for terminated employees.
Oh, I see. It's finding the needle in the haystack so I don't have to look at the hay.
Exactly. But, and this is the mandatory 5th step of the playbook, a human must review those exceptions and apply judgment. The AI flagged the anomaly. The human analyst applies the business context.
Vulnerability management is a great real-world example of this dynamic.
Yeah, perfect example.
The AI analyzes the vulnerability scanner exports and flags that a critical CVE is 14 days past its remediation SLA. The AI marks the control as failing.
Right.
But the human analyst looks at the asset, applies the business context, and realizes, yes, the patch is overdue on the database, but we recently implemented a strict web application firewall rule that acts as a compensating control, effectively mitigating the risk until the patch window.
Exactly. The AI can surface the pattern, but it takes human judgment to dictate the actual risk tolerance. The human decides what the data actually means.
Which requires you to meticulously preserve the AI testing record.
Yes, every single time. Every time the AI evaluates a control, the prompt, the input data hash, and the model output must be immutably logged.
So when the external auditor asks how you know the control passed, you don't say, the AI said so.
Right. You hand them the deterministic log of the evaluation and the signature of the human who reviewed the exceptions.
That makes total sense for defending the evidence. But the framework takes it one step further. It mandates that you monitor the AI testing process itself. In step 7, it says governing the governance tool. Are we seriously supposed to hire auditors to audit the AI auditors?
In practice, yes, you are auditing the AI.
Wow.
When you stand up AI-assisted testing, you run it in parallel with your human testing for a quarter. You compare the deltas, and more importantly, you track your override rates indefinitely.
Walk us through the override rate.
Sure, if the AI evaluates a specific change management control, and human analysts are overriding the AI's conclusion 40% of the time, saying, no, the AI marked this as failing, but the evidence is actually fine, you have a massive red flag.
Oh yeah, that's a huge error rate.
The system alerts you that either your prompt is poorly engineered, the model is hallucinating, or the control itself is just too vaguely written for a machine to parse. The AI process becomes a critical component of your control environment, which means it requires its own continuous monitoring and tuning.
If we pull back and look at the macro picture here, what this operating model really represents is a fundamental evolution of the GRC profession.
It really is.
The industry is desperately trying to move away from screenshot chasing.
Because the administrative burden has historically suffocated the actual risk management.
Yeah.
But if you implement this pre-testing model correctly, the future of GRC is pure analytical judgment. The AI collects the logs, reads the vendor docs, maps the intent, and surfaces the anomalies infinitely faster than a team of analysts ever could.
But the professional still has to sit in the chair and answer the ultimate question. Does this control actually reduce risk in a way that is defensible to a regulator?
Exactly. The goal was never to automate compliance just so everyone could log off at 3 p.m.
As nice as that sounds.
Right. The goal is building a fortified, continuous state of assurance where you stop discovering systemic control failures 6 months after the fact during an adversarial audit.
You're shifting assurance from a backward-looking reactive compliance exercise to a continuous proactive capability that actually informs executive leadership about their real-time risk posture.
It changes the entire value proposition of the compliance team.
It really does.
Uh,
But I want to leave you with something to think about regarding that massive shift. We're moving toward a future where AI handles all the rote verification, the log reading, the file matching, the endless scrolling.
well, the heavy lifting.
Right. And it leaves humans entirely focused on complex, high-stakes judgment calls. But gut instinct isn't something you learn in a textbook.
No, it's not.
You develop that deep intuition for what a failing control looks like by being in the weeds, by doing the grueling manual groundwork of hunting through 1,000 rows of data to find the one thing that looks off.
That's how you learn the patterns.
Exactly. So if we use AI to completely abstract away the weeds, how will the next generation of analysts ever develop that analytical judgment? If a junior GRC professional never has to manually hunt for the anomaly, will they really know what they're looking at when the AI inevitably escalates a massive, complex exception to their desk?
That is the hidden cost of automation. If the machine filters out all the noise, we have to engineer entirely new ways to train human intuition, or we really risk building a generation of rubber stampers overseeing black boxes.
It's something you're going to have to figure out before your next audit window opens. Because next time, the AI might find all those policy screenshots for you, but you're still the one on the hook for what they mean.